The street went silent in a way that felt wrong. The generator hums cut off. A breeze carried the smell of rain and hot dust. Then a car door slammed, 2 doors, 3, and men in dark hoodies spilled out of a black sedan without license plates. Before Amaka could blink, one of them vaulted the compound gate of the modest bungalow in Surulere and shoved a pistol through the iron bars. "Everybody freeze!" Kunle, 36, dark skin, neat low fade, thin moustache curving under a tight smile that often hid his fear, did not freeze. He lunged forward, grabbed his wife's shoulders, and yanked her in front of his chest like a wooden shield. Amaka, 33, ebony skin, shoulder-length box braids, a fitted blue Ankara dress with yellow sunburst patterns and simple leather sandals, felt her breath leave in a small yelp. Her back slammed into her husband's ribs. His fingers dug into her arms. "Stay still," he hissed into her ear. "Don't move." The gunman cocked his head. Even behind the scarf masking his face, disgust was easy to read. "Ogre, why are you hiding? We said nobody should move." Kunle's voice shook. She's pregnant," he lied, even though both of them knew they had been praying for a child for years. "Please, don't shoot." Amaka's eyes flamed. "Kunle," she whispered, steadying her breathing even as her heart pounded. "Let go." The leader's eyes sliced between them. He stepped closer, barrel rising. "Drop the handbags, drop the phones, drop the car key. Now, now." Kunle squeezed tighter. "Amaka, give him your bag," he ordered, not moving an inch from her back. He refused to release her to reach for his own wallet. From the darkness beyond the gate, a second man whistled, low and impatient. "Chairman, time is going, do and collect." A third man moved to the side door, testing the handle. In the living room beyond the curtain, the glow from their TV flickered on mute. They had paused a late-night movie. Their compound's motion sensor light blinked, then steadied, carving hard shadows across the tiled veranda. Somewhere in the neighbor's compound, a baby began to cry. 3, 2, the leader began. "Please." Amaka lifted her hand slowly. "Don't shoot. I will drop everything." Her handbag landed on the wet tiles with a soft slap. Her phone followed, its case scuffed from long days at her small tailoring shop. She nudged the car key forward with her toe. The man didn't lower the gun. "Your own," the leader said to Kunle. Kunle's grip only tightened. "Take her phone," he said, voice thin. "It is there. Please, we will cooperate." The leader's eyes darkened like the inside of a storm. "You," he said to Amaka, "shift left." The barrel tilted toward Kunle's shoulder. "You, man, stand like a man." Kunle tried to pull her tighter. "Don't move," he whispered. "Don't." "Shift," the robber repeated. Amaka made her choice. She slid one step to the left. Kunle's chest was suddenly bare to the barrel. Silence cracked. Somewhere outside the estate wall, a siren wailed and died. The leader's finger tightened, and the scene tore like cloth to reveal a different moment, a bright morning weeks earlier, when trouble was still only a shadow. It was a Saturday in Lagos, the kind of morning when market women tuned their radios to Fuji songs, and the air outside the one-story bungalow tasted like pepper soup and hot engine oil. Amaka knelt on the floor of their living room, measuring fabric on a low table for a client's ASO EB. Her hands were swift and sure. A tape measure lay across her shoulders like a scarf. She had learned to turn scraps into beauty, and beauty into rent and food. Kunle strolled in, wearing a new white polo with a tiny green crocodile logo. He had taken a loan from a friend to buy that shirt last month because new polo means new clients, he said. He sold home electronics, sometimes real brand names, sometimes imported ones that worked only on good days, and he chased a big contract like a man chasing the last bus at a shady. "My queen," he said, pecking her awkwardly on the head. She smiled up at him. "Don't call me queen when you want to borrow money." He laughed too loudly, the way he did when his heart was not steady. "Who said anything about borrowing? I came to announce good news. There is one man, Chief Ajayi, a hotel owner near Lekki. He wants 40 televisions, all 50-inch. Amaka's hands paused. 40. Yes now. He spread his fingers. 40. I just need small money to press palm so the deal will land. 150,000 naira. Amaka swallowed. The tailoring shop money was pieces of paper already labelled in her mind. Fabric supplier, generator fuel, rent due in 6 weeks. Kunle, she said softly, we plan to save this month. We can save double next month, Kunle said. Think about it. Once Chief pays, we will buy a new car, move to a better place. Surulere is fine, but why not Magodo? Why not Ikejagra? Why not the moon? She teased, forcing a lightness she didn't feel. She looked at the fabric under her fingers, yellow and blue like sunshine and sky. I will give you 75, she said at last. I cannot empty the account. His smile froze, then returned, brighter and thinner. 75? Okay. He kissed her cheek. You will see. God will make a way. God, the way Amaka understood him, was the sort who favoured quiet work and honest accounts. Still, she said, Amen. And because God also loved truth, she added softly, Kunle, let us be careful with night movement. If you meet that chief, go in the daytime. Kunle waved a hand. Day, night. What is the difference? Night gives cover, she said, for good people and bad people. He laughed again, but his laughter did not reach his eyes. Later that week, Kunle came home with swagger and sachet water. He dropped a small envelope on the centre table. Cash back, he said. Amaka opened it. Inside was 30,000 naira. She looked up. Kunle. The deal is in process, he said quickly. Just little delay, but I did something else today. Do you know who I saw? That boy from our estate who used to wash cars, Daniel. He now rides with some ogre. They do night runs. Security work, he said. Amaka's brow creased. What kind of security? Kunle shrugged. He didn't say. Opportunity is opportunity. Amaka sat very still. She had learned to listen not only to words, but to the space around them. Things avoided, answers that changed subject. She brushed it away for now. The generator is coughing, she said instead. It needs a plug. Kunle tilted his head. I will check later. But later was a country he visited rarely. That evening, on the way to buy Plug and Gary, they passed a woman selling Puff Puff. The woman called, Sister Amaka, your dress last month? People are still asking me for your number. Kunle straightened. He liked when Amaka's work was praised. He liked it because it allowed him to stand beside her and feel some of the light. They were two black figures on the sidewalk under mango trees, moving through their small life with hope and fear as neighbours. She in a simple wine-coloured wrapper and a plain black top, box braids pulled back with a rubber band. He in his white polo and jeans, hands in pockets, scanning for a signboard with Miracle Tech. As they turned a corner, a dog barked once, then again louder. A big brown mongrel rushed the fence. Kunle flinched and moved behind Amaka, using her body as a shield as the dog's head poked between iron bars. The owner whistled, and the dog trotted away. Amaka turned slowly and stared at him. He forced a laugh. This dog, very aggressive. She faced forward again. Her steps were calm, but something small and important lodged in her chest like a seed. A week later, the power went off at 9:12 p.m, right when the rain began, as if PHCN hated romance. Kunle was watching football highlights with the volume too high. Amaka was cutting fabric for a bride. Their little compound smelled like wet dust and fried plantain. There was a knock at the gate, 2 short taps, then 1 long. Kunle frowned. Who is that this time of night? He stood and hovered near the curtain. Who is there? Amaka called. Madam, it's me, Samson, came the familiar voice of their neighbour, a careful man with too many keys. Please, are you hearing any noise from Adeniran Street? I think something is happening. Before Amaka could answer, tires screeched outside. Headlights flashed across the bars like white fire. 3 figures jumped from a car and jogged toward their gate. Samson's voice tightened. "Close the door. Close." The leader reached the gate first. Everything after that happened in the way thunder happens, instantly, then with echoes. The leader shoved the pistol through the bars. "Everybody freeze!" And Kunle, who hid behind Amaka when a dog barked, Kunle, who asked for 75,000 and brought back 30. Kunle, who wanted Magodo before he could fix a plug, did what his fear told him to do. He grabbed his wife and used her as a human shield. Amaka's muscles went cold and hot at once. The iron gate was between them and the men, but iron was useless if a gun lived on the other side. "Your phones, your money, your keys," the leader said. Rain stung the air like needles. Amaka's handbag and phone slid onto the wet tile. The car key followed. The leader's eyes shifted to Kunle. "Your own." Kunle shook his head slightly, like a child refusing medicine. I don't have anything," he stammered, even though his phone bulged in his pocket and his wallet sat fat with the last cash from Amaka's envelope. The leader's gaze sharpened. "You think I'm playing?" From the street, one of the men called, "Chairman, we no get time." The leader's voice dropped to a hiss that sounded like a snake moving through dry leaves. "If you love your wife, you will stand alone." Kunle's hands trembled on Amaka's arms. He did not move. The leader's finger began to squeeze. "Wait," Amaka said, her voice steady with a steel she found in her grandmother's stories. She slid one step to the left. The barrel tracked the motion. The space between the leader's anger and Kunle's fear was small as a breath. "Drop your phone," the leader said to Kunle, one last chance hovering like a fragile glass. Kunle didn't move. He whispered into Amaka's hair, "Don't leave me." And something in her shifted, some quiet tally of small moments. The dog, the money, the promises, the way he always chose himself first. Love is a tree, but trust is the root. Without the root, the tree falls in the first real wind. Amaka took another slow step away from his chest. Kunle's body was now fully exposed. The leader's mouth tilted, annoyed and almost curious. "So this is the kind of man you married," he said to Amaka, not unkindly. "Nawa." From the darkness behind the gunman, a 4th figure emerged, slim, jittery, wearing a baseball cap with the brim pulled low. He tugged the leader's sleeve. "Chairman, I know this ogre," the newcomer murmured. Kunle flinched, his eyes widened. "Daniel?" The leader didn't glance back. "Who?" "The man behind woman," the newcomer said. "He is the one that came with that other crew last week to count CCTV at hotel." "Shut up," Kunle blurted, panic cracking his voice. "I don't know you." The leader's eyes flicked, finally, to Daniel. "He came with who?" Daniel swallowed. With the Nile boys. They said they were security." In a heartbeat, the air changed. The leader's gun rose another half-inch. Rain grew louder. Somewhere, a door slammed. A baby kept crying. Samson's keys jingled once, then went still. "Phone," the leader said to Kunle for the last time. Kunle reached toward Amaka as if she were a wall. "Please, please," he whispered to the robbers, but his hand slid toward his own pocket at last, fingers fumbling at the fabric. A siren yelped in the distance again, nearer now. Red and blue light flashed against wet concrete. The leader swore under his breath. "Time up!" he snapped. He pulled the trigger. The world punched itself inside out. The shot cracked the night in two. Amaka flinched, ducking on reflex, palms over her head. A scream tore the air, Kunle's voice high and strangled, and then the compound filled with chaos, the sudden roar of their neighbour's generator coughing to life, the splash of heavy boots in puddles, the harsh command of a new voice from the gatepost. "Police! Down! Down!" Another shot answered. A window shattered. Samson shouted something that became a cough. Rain hammered the tiles. Feet pounded. Amaka scrambled, crawling on hands and knees toward the short wall by the veranda steps. She reached for Kunle without looking, fingers searching for his arm, for proof of life or apology. She grasped air. "Amaka!" a voice called. Not police, not Samson. Familiar and fierce. She turned. Standing by the rear corner of the house was Kelechi, her younger cousin by marriage, 27, dark skin, compact frame, a hoodie plastered to his shoulders, face bare, eyes furious. He worked with the community watch on weekends, carrying nothing but a torch and his nerve. He waved his arms. "Come this side," the leader cursed. "Back, back!" Tires squealed. The black sedan swung. A third shot cracked. The gate rattled. Amaka pushed up, legs shaking, and sprinted the 3 steps to the corner wall. Kelechi grabbed her hand, tugged her behind a stack of paint buckets. "Stay low. Where is Kunle?" She looked back through rain and smoke of panic. Kunle was on the veranda tiles, half fallen against the low bench. One hand clutched his shoulder. Dark wetness spread across the white polo in a blooming patch. His eyes darted toward Amaka, wild with fear and something else she could not name. The police voice boomed again, closer now. "All of you, down! Drop your weapon!" The leader swore like someone tasting pepper, fired once blindly, then vaulted the gate. 2 of his men followed. The last one, Daniel, stumbled, slipped, and fell to one knee inside the compound. He looked up at Kunle. Recognition flared between them like a match in gasoline. "You," Daniel started. Kunle's mouth opened. "Don't say—" The police siren screamed full throat at the gate. A torch beam cut through rain and shadows, finding Daniel's face, then Kunle's, then Amaka's braids plastered to her cheeks. "Hands up!" an officer shouted. Amaka lifted her hands. The moment stretched, fragile and screaming. Daniel bolted, scrambling up and over the low wall into the neighbour's plantain patch. 2 officers gave chase, boots slipping, curses flying. The leader's sedan fishtailed, then shot away, taillights bleeding red through the rain. Silence fell again, but this time it was the silence of lungs refusing to breathe. Kunle tried to stand. He staggered, jaw clenched, hand pressing his shoulder. "Amaka," he said, voice small now. "Amaka, help me." Her eyes held his. The last 3 minutes replayed in her head in fast cuts, his hands shoving her forward, his refusal to drop his phone, the robber's disgust, Daniel's whisper, the gun, the scream. Kelechi's hand tightened on her forearm. "Don't move," he warned. "Police are tense." 2 officers climbed through the gate, guns raised, scanning. A third stood outside, radio crackling. One of them glanced at Kunle and jerked his chin. "You, sit." Kunle eased himself onto the bench, face pale. An officer swung the torch toward Amaka. "Madam, you're okay?" Her voice was steady. "I'm okay." "What happened?" the officer asked, pressing his radio. A beep. Then a hiss of static, then a voice on the radio. "Unit 2, any injuries?" The officer looked from Kunle's bleeding shoulder to Amaka's shaking hands. "1 injury. Suspects fled in a black sedan. Plate unknown." "Copy," the radio crackled. Another officer moved toward the gate, then paused. He lifted something from the wet tile with 2 gloved fingers. It was a phone, Kunle's phone, screen lit, a message preview glowing despite the rain. Kelechi's eyes flicked down. His jaw tightened. The officer's brow furrowed. He held the screen so the torch caught it. A message from D. O'Neill blinked. "Oga, we saw police. If anything happens, we know you. Hide the money well." The officer looked up at Kunle slowly. "This your phone?" Kunle hesitated. Another siren wailed nearer. A neighbour's gate squeaked, voices multiplied. The compound became a stage where everyone had lines, but nobody knew the script. The air smelled like fear, rain, and secrets. Amaka's breath hitched. She understood nothing yet, but she knew, with a clarity that rang in her bones, that something in the shape of their marriage had shifted forever. Fruit does not fall from the tree in one day. It grows through seasons of sun and shadow until it drops at the first real storm. The officer held the phone out. "Answer me," he said, voice even. "Is this your phone?" Kunle opened his mouth, and a new sound sliced across the compound, the sudden screech of brakes right outside their gate, louder and closer than before. Doors flew open. Heavy footsteps slapped puddles. A voice, deep and full of rage, thundered over the wall. "Where is that man? Where is the man who brought them to my hotel?" The gate shook as fists pounded it from the outside. "Come out, you cowards!" Kelechi's face went white. "That's Chief Ajayi," he whispered. "From Lekki." Amaka's eyes flicked to Kunle. His lips trembled. He looked at the phone in the officer's hand, then at the gate that shuddered under the chief's fists, then at his wife who was no longer between him and danger. "Open this gate!" Chief roared. "Tonight, we finish this!" Lightning snapped. The estate's security siren erupted. The officer nearest the gate lifted his weapon and shouted a warning. The gate latch slid. The door flew inward. Chief Ajayi burst into the compound with 2 men at his back, rain steaming from his agbada, eyes red as brake lights. He pointed at Kunle, face twisted with a fury that could peel paint. "You," he said, voice shaking. "You set them on us." The officer swung his arm. "Sir, calm down." Chief did not calm. He stepped forward until his shoes splashed in the puddle by the bench. His hand rose, not with a gun but with a folded sheaf of papers, soaked and crumpling. He slammed them onto the table so hard that water jumped. On top, a bank transfer slip bled ink, the numbers running like tears. Kunle's throat worked. His voice came out a whisper. "Chief, I can explain." "Explain in front of the police and your wife," Chief said, laugh short and ugly. "Explain how you told boys when cash would move. Explain why 2 nights after we paid, they came. Explain, if you can, why one of them knows your name." The officer's torch caught Kunle's face fully now. The fear, the sweat, the computation of escape paths that no longer existed. The radio crackled again. "Unit 2, secure all parties. Possible inside job." The officer with the phone turned to Amaka, softening his tone. "Madam, is this your husband?" Amaka's lips parted. Words gathered and fell back. She looked at Kunle, the man who used her body as a wall, who used her money like rainwater, who perhaps used his mouth to invite wolves into her life, and felt her heart steady to a new beat. Another figure appeared at the gate, a slim woman in a nurse's navy scrubs, umbrella forgotten, braids plastered to her cheeks. She looked straight at Kunle and then at Amaka, her chin lifted with a kind of tired defiance. Kelechi whispered, "Who is that again?" The woman answered herself, voice clear and cutting through rain. "My name is Damilola," she said. "He told me his name was Mr. K and that he was single." The compound froze. Even the rain seemed to pause, listening. Damilola's eyes did not leave Kunle's. "They robbed my hospital last month," she said softly. "He knew the location of our weekend cash drops." Kunle swayed. "Lies," he said, but the word broke. The officer's radio hissed. "Unit 2, backup arriving." Chief Ajayi's men shifted, tense but controlled. The officers widened their stance. Kelechi's hand tightened on Amaka's arm like a rope pulling her back from a cliff. Kunle's eyes finally found Amaka's and begged. "Please," he whispered, "say something. Tell them I'm not." Thunder swallowed the rest of his plea. A new voice boomed from the street, amplified and official. "All units, move in," Boots thundered. The estate gate at the end of the road screeched as more vehicles forced through. A dog barked. The baby cried louder. The sky pressed down. The officer lifted his palm at Kunle. "Hands where we can see them." Kunle's fingers fluttered in the air like torn paper. And then, from somewhere behind the neighbour's plantain patch, a shadow detached itself and moved like regret. Daniel climbing over the low wall, eyes locked on Kunle, hand inside his jacket. He stepped toward the veranda with a small, mean smile. Tonight, Daniel said, his voice flat, we balance account. His hand came out of the jacket fast. Amaka gasped. Kelechi pulled her down. The officers shouted. Kunle screamed. A fourth gunshot cracked the night. And everything went black. Comments, like this video, and subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. The echo of the fourth gunshot rolled through the compound like a wave, rattling windows and shaking the fragile calm. For a heartbeat, no one moved. Everyone frozen in the rain-soaked courtyard, caught between shock and terror. Then the scene erupted into chaos. Kunle slumped sideways on the bench, clutching his chest. His eyes went wide, mouth open, gasping like a fish dragged from water. Blood seeped between his fingers. He was alive, but barely. "Drop it! Drop your weapon now!" one of the officers screamed. Daniel stood near the veranda, pistol smoking in his hand, rain streaking his face. His eyes darted between the officers, Chief Ajayi and Amaka crouched behind the paint buckets. He looked like a man with nothing left to lose. "I know they go alone," Daniel spat, raising the gun again. The officers fired back. 2 deafening blasts split the night. Sparks flew as bullets tore chunks from the gate. Daniel twisted, staggered backward and crumpled against the veranda railing, his weapon clattering to the tiles. His body jerked once, then stilled. The courtyard smelled of gunpowder and wet earth. Chief Ajayi cursed under his breath and stepped back, clutching his soaked agbada. His men stood stiff, fists clenched, but even their fury bowed to the rifles aimed in their direction. The police moved quickly, one securing Daniel's gun, another checking his pulse, a third pulling handcuffs from his belt. Kunle whimpered, drawing every eye back to him. He was doubled over, both hands pressing his wound. His once proud white polo was now red and sticky, soaked through. His lips trembled. "Amaka," he croaked. "Help me. Please." Amaka did not move. Her body was cold and hot all at once, her braids plastered against her cheeks, rain dripping down her face. She looked at the man she had loved, the man who had once promised her the world, the man who had just moments ago shoved her in front of bullets to save his own skin. Her cousin Kelechi whispered urgently, "Sister Amaka, he's going to die if no one helps him." She swallowed hard. Her eyes burned, not with tears, but with the weight of choices she never thought she'd have to make. "Madam!" an officer barked. "Stay back. Don't touch him yet. We need to secure this place." But Kunle's desperate eyes were locked on hers, begging, pleading. "Please, Amaka, don't leave me. I swear I'll change. I'll explain everything. Just don't let me die here." Thunder rumbled overhead, heavy and long, as though the heavens themselves were listening. Chief Ajayi's voice cut in, sharp as a blade. "Officer, don't let that coward fool you. This is the man who betrayed us. He set us up. I swear on my father's grave he will answer for it." Kunle's head snapped toward the chief, fear choking his breath. No, Chief, it's not true. I was forced. Daniel forced me. I had no choice." But Daniel's body, lifeless and sprawled on the wet tiles, could no longer argue for him or against him. One of the officers bent to lift Kunle's phone from the puddle again. The screen glowed faintly through raindrops, displaying the same incriminating message. "Ogur, we saw police. Hide the money well." The officer held it up like evidence in a courtroom. His gaze shifted between Kunle and Amaka. "So, this is your husband?" Amaka's throat tightened, her lips parted, but no sound came out. Every pair of eyes in the compound was on her. Police, neighbours peeking through gates, Chief Ajayi and his men, even Damilola, the nurse, standing in the rain with tears of betrayal streaking her cheeks. Her silence stretched like a rope, and Kunle clutched at it like a drowning man. "Amaka, please, tell them I'm innocent. Tell them I'm a good man. Tell them I've been a good husband." Her chest rose and fell. Her heart replayed the moments. The way he had used her body as a shield. The way he had lied about money. The way he had laughed off her warnings. The way he always put himself first. The truth was plain as the rain falling around them, But Amaka also remembered her grandmother's words. A woman's silence can be heavier than iron, and when she speaks it can be sharper than any sword. She took a step forward, her sandals squelching in the puddles. Her voice, when it came, was calm and steady. "This man," she said slowly, each word heavy, "is my husband." Kunle's shoulders sagged with relief. Yes, you hear her. I am her husband." Amaka's eyes never left the officers. "And he is also a coward." Kunle froze. The words cut deeper than any bullet. Gasps rippled through the neighbours watching from behind the gate. Chief Ajayi's lips curved into a grim smile. Even the officers exchanged glances, surprised at the firmness in her tone. Kunle's mouth worked soundlessly. "Amaka, no. Don't. Please." But Amaka only folded her arms across her chest and stood tall in the rain, her face a mask of steel. The officer nodded once, as though her words had confirmed what the evidence already screamed. He turned to his colleagues. "Take him. He will answer for this." 2 officers stepped forward, guns still raised, ready to cuff Kunle even as he bled. He tried to stand, but his knees buckled. His hands reached out, toward Amaka, toward anyone, but nobody moved to help. As the handcuffs clicked shut on his wrists, Kunle let out a strangled cry. "Amaka, don't let them take me. I did it for us, for you." But Amaka said nothing. The rain fell harder, drumming on the corrugated roof, washing away the blood on the tiles, but it could not wash away the stain of betrayal. Just as the officers began dragging him toward the gate, Kunle twisted back, his eyes wild, and screamed one last time. "You will regret this, Amaka. I swear you will eat the fruit of this betrayal too." His voice echoed down the street as the police van swallowed him into its belly. And in the silence that followed, everyone knew. This was only the beginning. Don't forget to like and subscribe for the shocking twist that's coming next. The rain thinned into a drizzle, leaving the compound soaked, stained and trembling with whispers. Neighbours had gathered in clusters by their gates, whispering behind palms. The sirens faded down the street as the police van carried Kunle away, his voice still echoing in Amaka's ears like a curse. "You will eat the fruit of this betrayal too." Her arms hugged her chest, as if holding herself together. Beside her, Kelechi's jaw was tight. He glanced at her, but said nothing. The night smelled of wet dust, gunpowder, and betrayal. Chief Ajayi, his agbada still clinging heavy with rain, stepped closer. His sharp eyes studied Amaka the way a hawk studies prey. "Madam Amaka," he said, voice low but cutting, "you must prepare yourself. That man is finished." Amaka did not answer. Her chest rose and fell slowly, as though she was holding back a flood. Damilola, the nurse, stood silently at the gate, rain dripping down her scrubs. Her eyes met Amaka's briefly. 2 women, different stories, same wound. Without a word, Damilola turned and walked into the night, her umbrella forgotten on the ground. Chief Ajayi's men murmured behind him. One leaned forward and whispered, "Oga, should we go?" Ajayi's lips curled. "Yes, but we will not rest until all his secrets are dragged into the light. Mark my words, that coward has eaten more than he could swallow. The fruit of betrayal will choke him." He turned sharply and his men followed, their footsteps splashing through puddles until they disappeared beyond the compound gate. Silence returned, broken only by the whimper of Samson, the neighbour, who had crouched inside his doorway the entire time. He peeped through his iron bars, clutching his heavy keyring like it could protect him. "Madam Amaka," he said cautiously, "you need to be careful. If what they say about your husband is true, trouble will still come." Amaka's lips pressed together, but she gave him no answer. The next morning Lagos woke as if the night had been ordinary. Traders' voices rang in the streets, buses honked impatiently, and the smell of akara floated from frying pans. But in Amaka's compound, nothing was ordinary. The veranda tiles were scrubbed clean, though the stains of blood still seemed to whisper from the cracks. The shattered window had been boarded with plywood. Kunle's wallet and phone were gone, taken by police as evidence. Amaka sat quietly in her tailoring shop, needle in hand but eyes far away. Her box braids were tied back in a scarf, and her Ankara wrapper was faded from many washings. Her body stitched cloth, but her mind replayed the night. Kunle's hand shoving her forward, his phone glowing with betrayal, his curse as the van door slammed. Kelechi entered, carrying a nylon bag of bread and a kara. He dropped it gently on her work table. "You haven't eaten," he said. "I'm not hungry," Amaka murmured. "You must try," he insisted. "What happened last night is not the end. It may just be the beginning." She finally looked up, her eyes tired but sharp. "What do you mean?" Kelechi hesitated, then lowered his voice. "I overheard the police at the gate. They said Kunle's name is already in other cases. They said this robbery was not the first. He may have been feeding boys information for months, hotels, hospitals, even private homes." Amaka's heart dropped into her stomach. "Kunle? No. I knew he was reckless, but—" Her voice cracked. "To be working with criminals?" Kelechi sighed. "He may have been living a double life. And if that's true, Madam Amaka, you are not safe. Those men will not leave you alone. If they think you know something, they will come back." Her hand froze on the needle. The words wrapped around her like cold chains. By evening, word had spread through Surulere. In the market, women shook their heads and whispered, "Imagine, a man using his wife as shield. They say he even betrayed Chief Ajayi. That one is finished." Chai, poor Amaka. What shame she must carry. When Amaka returned from buying thread, she felt the stairs on her back like stones. Her sandals scraped against the dusty road. A child pointed at her and whispered to his mother, "That is the woman whose husband was a coward." Her chest ached with shame. But beneath the shame, something else stirred, a heat like fire in her bones. That night, as she sat alone in the dim tailoring shop, thunder growled far away. She lifted her eyes to the ceiling. "God," she whispered, voice steady, "let me not be a victim of his sins. If he planted seeds of betrayal, let him be the one to reap them." 2 days later, the police returned to the compound. 3 officers came in a pickup truck, their boots heavy on the tiles. "Madam Amaka?" the lead officer called. She stepped forward cautiously, wrapper tied firm at her waist. "Yes?" "You will need to come to the station," he said. "Your husband has made a statement." Her stomach twisted. "What statement?" The officer's eyes darkened. "He said you knew about everything, that you helped him." The words fell like stones in a still pond. Amaka's breath caught. Her knees weakened. Behind her, Kelechi swore under his breath. The neighbours were already gathering by their gates again, hungry for drama. Murmurs rose like smoke. "Madam," the officer said firmly, "you must come with us. Now." Amaka's lips parted. "He betrayed me once in front of robbers. Now he betrays me again before the law." Her hands trembled, but she lifted her chin. "Very well," she said. "Let us go." The officers led her toward the pickup. Rain began to fall again, soft but insistent, drumming on the tin roofs. As Amaka climbed into the back of the truck, she whispered to herself, "So this is the fruit he wanted me to eat." But in her heart, another voice rose stronger than fear. The tree of betrayal does not bear fruit forever. One day, the axe will find its root. At the station, she would face Kunle again, and what he had planted would finally begin to bear. Don't forget to like and subscribe for the next shocking twist. The police station in Surulere smelled of sweat, damp uniforms and unwashed floors. Rusted fans turned lazily overhead, pushing hot air in circles. Fluorescent lights flickered, buzzing like trapped insects. Amaka sat on a wooden bench near the wall, her hands folded in her lap, wrapper damp with rain. Her eyes scanned the cracked plaster, the bulletin board cluttered with wanted posters and missing persons notices. Every sound, the clatter of typewriters, the low grumble of officers pressed against her chest. "Madam Amaka," an officer called, "come." Her heart thudded. She rose, each step toward the interrogation room heavy as if her ankles were chained. Inside, Kunle sat hunched at a small metal table. His once proud white polo had been replaced with a torn brown shirt. His face was pale, eyes sunken, his left shoulder bandaged roughly. Even in disgrace, his gaze darted, scheming, restless. When he saw her, his lips curled into something between relief and desperation. "Amaka," he rasped, his voice hoarse. "You came." She stopped a meter away, refusing to sit. Her hands tightened around her wrapper. "I came because they said you spoke my name." The officer standing at the corner crossed his arms. "Yes. Your husband said you were part of the robbery setup. He claimed you handled money transfers and hid some of the cash." Amaka's chest burned. She turned slowly to Kunle, her voice sharp. "You said what?" Kunle's eyes flickered. "Amaka, listen. If I don't say something, they will hang me alone. They are looking for scapegoats. You know how this country is. But if you help me, if you stand with me, we can survive this." Her mouth dropped open. "Survive? After you pushed me in front of a gun? After you betrayed Chief Ajayi? After you shamed me before the whole neighborhood?" His jaw clenched. "I did it for us. Everything. For us. You think your sewing shop could ever give us Magodo? You think selling lace wrappers will make us rich?" He leaned forward, voice trembling. "I was building something. Big men do worse every day." Amaka's voice trembled, but it was cold. "You were not building. You were rotting." The officer cleared his throat. "Madam, do you deny the allegations?" Amaka turned to him, eyes blazing. "I deny it with every breath. I knew nothing of his dealings. I worked my shop. I cooked his food. I prayed for children. I was his shield in danger, but never his partner in crime." The officer studied her carefully, then scribbled on a notepad. Kunle slammed his fist weakly against the table. "Lies! She knew, she—" "Enough," the officer snapped. Silence thickened. Amaka's breathing steadied. Kunle's chest heaved like a man drowning. Hours later, Amaka was released with a warning. "Stay close. This case is not finished." As she stepped out into the night, the city roared beyond the station walls, Okada horns, vendors shouting, radios buzzing with Afrobeats. But inside her, there was only a heavy quiet. Kelechi waited at the roadside, leaning on a battered Toyota. Relief softened his face when he saw her. "They freed you." She nodded, too tired to speak. He opened the passenger door, and she slid in. As they drove home through puddled streets, neon lights reflected on wet asphalt. Amaka stared out the window, her thoughts a storm. Finally, Kelechi said, "Sister, you must be careful. Kunle is desperate. A desperate man can destroy even his own blood." Amaka's fingers twisted in her lap. "He has already tried, but God is watching." By dawn, the whispers in the neighborhood had grown louder. Women at the borehole shook their heads, murmuring, "Imagine a husband dragging his wife into crime. Some men are curses in disguise. May God protect Amaka. She does not deserve this shame." But shame sticks like oil. Once spilled, it stains everything it touches. Clients began cancelling orders at her tailoring shop. Mothers who once praised her work now avoided her door. The fruit of Kunle's betrayal was ripening. And she was the one being forced to eat it. 3 nights later, Amaka sat in her shop, candlelight flickering over piles of fabric. Her scissors lay idle. Rain tapped the zinc roof. Suddenly, a shadow moved at her window. She froze. "Madam Amaka," a voice whispered urgently. "It's me, Samson." Her neighbour. She exhaled shakily and went to the door. He slipped inside, clutching his
The night lay
keyring
heavy
like a
over
charm.
Surulere.
His face
Darker
was
than
pale.
usual.
What
As
is
though
it?
the clouds
She
themselves
asked.
were plotting.
"Those boys."
The streetlights near Amaka's compound,
the ones from that
flickered
night.
weakly, one
They are
by
back in the
one,
area
until only
I heard
shadows
them.
remained.
They said Kunle owes
Somewhere, a
them, and if they
generator
cannot
coughed
find him,
twice
they will
and
come for
died,
you.
leaving silence
Amaka's
so
heart
thick it pressed
slammed.
on the skin.
Samson glanced nervously
Inside her
around her
tailoring
small shop. Amaka
Be
crouched
ready.
low, her breath
Tonight
steady
may not
but her
end
heart
quietly.
pounding like drums of war.
Outside, thunder
Samson
rolled again,
sat near the
long
door,
and deep.
hands trembling as he
Somewhere
gripped
in the
his heavy
darkness,
bunch of keys.
footsteps shifted.
His whisper shook.
Amaka snuffed the
They
candle.
are close.
Her voice
I heard
was
the sound
steady,
of that same
even
black
as
sedan.
her chest trembled.
It stopped 2 houses away.
Let them come, she
Amaka's
whispered.
jaw clenched.
This time I will not
If they
be
want
anyone's
Kunle,
shield.
let them
Let him
take
eat the
Kunle.
fruit he planted.
He planted this seed, not me.
And in the distance, the sound of
But
a
your
car
name
door
is on their
slamming
lips
echoed
now,
through the night.
Samson said
Don't forget to
urgently.
like and subscribe.
They believe you
because
know
the
where he
storm
hid
is
the
only
money.
just beginning.
Amaka's eyes hardened. Then let them look into my eyes and see I know nothing. Moments later, the compound gate rattled violently. The sound was sharp and merciless. A voice shouted from outside, low and commanding. "Open this gate before we break it!" Samson flinched. Amaka remained still, her hand pressed against her chest as though holding her heart in place. The voice called again. "Madam Amaka, you think you can hide your husband's secrets from us? Tonight, you will speak." The iron clang of metal against metal echoed as someone tried forcing the latch. Samson whispered frantically, "We must run through the back." But Amaka stood, tall and unshaken. Her braids hung heavy with sweat, her wrapper tied tight around her waist. "No, Samson. If I run tonight, they will never stop hunting. I will face them." Samson's eyes widened. "Face armed men? With what?" "With truth," Amaka answered, her voice low but firm. The gate burst open with a crash. 3 figures stormed inside, faces masked, boots splashing in puddles. Their torches cut through the darkness, beams sweeping across the compound until they landed on Amaka. "There she is," the leader hissed, tall and broad, his voice coated with malice. "The wife of the coward." Amaka stepped forward, her chin high though her knees trembled. "What do you want from me?" "Your husband's money," the leader spat. "He promised us half. Now he sits in police custody, and you are the one left holding his secrets. Where is it?" "I know nothing of his dealings," Amaka said evenly. "He betrayed me as he betrayed you. If he promised you riches, let him pay from his grave." The men exchanged glances. One of them, slimmer and restless, sneered. "Do you think we are fools? If you don't talk, we will burn this place down with you inside." Samson whimpered. "Please leave us." "Shut up, old man," the leader barked, raising his gun. Samson stumbled backward, his keys clattering to the floor. Amaka's voice cut through the tension, sharp as a blade. "If you kill me, you will never find what you are looking for. But listen well, I have nothing to give you. Nothing." For a moment, the only sound was rain dripping from the roof and the low buzz of far-off traffic. Then the leader stepped closer, his torch glaring into her eyes. "Then maybe pain will teach you to remember." He reached for her arm, and a sudden blast of light filled the compound. Headlamps, loud honking, tires screeching. A police truck tore into the street, sirens wailing, scattering shadows into chaos. The robbers
"Police!"
spun, voices
Startled,
boomed,
guns
"Drop your
raised."
weapons!" Shots cracked into the night. Samson screamed and threw himself flat on the ground. Amaka ducked behind a pillar, her heart hammering against her ribs. The compound roared with noise, shouts, bullets, splashing boots, breaking glass. The robbers fired wildly, then turned to flee, leaping over the gate into the street. One dropped his torch, its beam cutting across the tiles like a dying eye. Within moments, the street fell into silence again, broken only by the siren's fading cry. The police gave chase, leaving Amaka and Samson trembling in the half-dark. Samson crawled to her side, shaking like a leaf. That was close, too close. God saved us tonight. But Amaka's eyes were distant, fixed on the broken torch lying in the puddle. Its light flickered weakly over the tiled ground, illuminating something near the veranda bench. A plastic bag, half hidden under the bench where Kunle had once sat bleeding. Amaka's breath caught. She stepped forward slowly, bent, and pulled it out. Inside were bundles of cash, damp but unmistakable. Samson's mouth dropped open. Jesus, that's it. That's the money they were after. Amaka's hands shook as she clutched the bag. Her mind raced with images. Kunle's betrayal, the robbers' threats, the police questioning her, the neighbours' whispers. The fruit of his betrayal lay in her hands now. She whispered to herself, voice trembling but steady. So this is what he sold his soul for. And as the torchlight flickered out completely, plunging the compound into darkness, Amaka knew her choices had just begun. Don't forget to like and subscribe, because the fruit of betrayal is about to reveal its bitter taste. The plastic bag of damp cash felt heavier than iron in Amaka's hands. Her palms grew slick with sweat, though the rain had cooled the air. The bills were stacked tight, rubber bands straining to hold them together. It wasn't small money. No, this was wealth measured in betrayals, in sleepless nights, in blood. Samson's eyes bulged as he stared at the bag. Madam Amaka, that is millions, millions. You must take it straight to the police before those men come back. Amaka's chest tightened. And if I do, Samson, will the police give me peace, or will they swallow it and still call me guilty? Samson licked his lips nervously. But if you keep it, they will kill you. Those boys won't stop until they have it. Amaka hugged the bag to her chest. For years she had sewn clothes from scraps, counting every naira. She had begged God for children, for growth, for peace in her home. Yet her husband had chosen shortcuts, planting seeds of greed that had now grown into a poisonous tree. And here she was, its bitter fruit pressed into her arms. Her grandmother's words echoed in her head. Not every fruit that shines is sweet. Some carry death inside. The next morning the compound buzzed with whispers. Neighbours gathered at their gates again, eyes hungry for gossip. Some muttered prayers for Amaka's safety, others shook their heads saying, "That woman too must know something. Money does not vanish into thin air." Amaka stayed inside her tailoring shop, sewing furiously as though each stitch could silence the rumours. The bag of cash was hidden beneath a loose wooden plank under her work table, its presence like a pulse under her feet. Kelechi arrived by noon, sweat on his brow from running errands. He spotted the tiredness in Amaka's face immediately. "You didn't sleep." "No," she admitted. He leaned close. "What happened last night?" She hesitated, then whispered, "The money. I found it." Kelechi's breath caught. "Kunle's money? The money from the robberies?" She nodded. Kelechi's jaw clenched. "You must be careful. If the police discover it here, they will not believe your innocence. And if the robbers learn you have it—" He trailed off, his eyes scanning the shop nervously. Amaka whispered, "Tell me, Kelechi. Should I give it up? Or should I keep it? Is it not justice after all I've suffered?" Kelechi shook his head slowly. "Justice does not come from stolen fruit, sister. That money will burn your hands." But before Amaka could respond, a knock rattled the shop door. Two uniformed police officers stepped inside, their eyes sweeping the cramped tailoring space. One adjusted his belt, his face expressionless. "Madam Amaka, we have orders to search your premises." Amaka's pulse spiked. Her eyes flicked briefly toward the work table, then back to the officer's face. "Search? For what?" "For evidence your husband may have hidden here," the officer said. "We believe some stolen property is still missing." Kelechi's eyes darted to hers, warning flashing silently. The officers began opening drawers, shifting fabric, tapping on walls. Each sound was a hammer to Amaka's chest. The bag beneath the work table seemed to grow louder, like a drumbeat only she could hear. One officer reached toward the table. Amaka's hand shot out instinctively. "Wait, that is delicate fabric. If you scatter it, I will not be able to complete my orders." The officer frowned, suspicion narrowing his eyes. Before he could reply, a shout rang out from the compound gate. "Officers, officers, trouble!" It was Samson, his voice shrill with panic. "Those boys are back. They are circling the street." The officers froze, exchanged glances, then dashed outside with rifles raised. Amaka stood rooted to the floor, her heart pounding. Kelechi grabbed her shoulders. "Sister, this is no longer safe. You must decide now. Hide the money somewhere else, or confess before it destroys you." Amaka pressed her lips together. Her hands trembled as she touched the plank under her table. Her voice came out in a whisper, shaking but determined. If this is the fruit of Kunle's betrayal, maybe I should feed it back to him. Kelechi frowned. What do you mean? Her eyes hardened. He is in custody. Let him answer for it. If I carry this money to the police myself, they will chain me with him. But if they find it tied to his name, then the curse will return to its owner. That night, Amaka wrapped the cash in plain cloth and slipped into the shadows with Kelechi by her side. The streets were quiet, save for the hum of distant generators and the barking of stray dogs. They moved quickly toward the police station, each step a prayer. But as they reached the corner of Adoniran Street, a dark sedan crawled out from the shadows. Its headlights flared, blinding them. The same voice that had haunted her nights hissed from inside. Madam Amaka, we warned you. The car door creaked open. Boots hit the ground. Amaka clutched the cloth bundle tighter, her pulse roaring in her ears. Kelechi stepped in front of her. Run, he whispered. Run now. But Amaka did not run. She stood tall, eyes locked on the masked men stepping from the car. Her voice cut through the night, fierce and unyielding. If you want this fruit, come and take it. But know this, every seed carries judgment, and tonight someone will choke on it. The men froze, surprised by the fire in her tone. And in that suspended moment, sirens wailed again in the distance, growing louder, rushing toward the street like justice itself. Don't forget to like and subscribe. The bitter fruit of betrayal is ripening fast. The sirens grew louder, flashing red and blue against the wet asphalt as the sedan's doors slammed shut. The masked men froze, caught between their hunger for the money and the thunder of approaching police. Amaka gripped the cloth bundle tighter, her knuckles pale under ebony skin. Kelechi remained a step ahead of her, his body taut like a bowstring. The leader of the gang hissed, "Give us the bag, woman, or you and your cousin will bleed before those policemen reach here." Amaka's voice did not shake. "This bag does not belong to me. It belongs to the man who sold his soul and to those who trusted him. If you want it, then you will carry his curse with it." The men exchanged uneasy glances. For the first time they saw not just a frightened tailor's wife, but a woman whose fire could not be quenched. Kelechi whispered quickly, "Sister, hold steady. The police are close. Don't move." But the leader stepped forward, his pistol gleaming under the streetlight. "Last warning, drop it!" The police truck screeched to a halt at the mouth of the street. Doors flung open, officers spilled out, rifles raised. "Hands in the air! Drop your weapons!" The gang cursed under their breath. One of them shouted, "Scatter!" 2 men bolted into the alleys, their boots slapping against puddles. The leader, furious, grabbed Amaka's arm and yanked hard. The bundle slipped from her grip and tumbled to the ground, bursting open. Bundles of damp cash spilled across the wet road. The sight made everyone freeze, the officers, the robbers, even Kelechi. Money glistened under the flashing sirens, taunting, shimmering like forbidden fruit. The leader lunged for it. A gunshot cracked the night. The bullet tore through the air, striking the ground inches from his hand. The officers advanced, shouting, "Stay down! Stay away from the evidence!" The leader cursed again and darted back into the sedan. Tires screeched, the car swerved wildly, and then it vanished into the night. The officers rushed forward, surrounding the scattered money. One bent, scooping bundles carefully into a nylon sack. Another pulled Amaka aside. "Madam, is this the stolen cash?" Amaka's chest heaved, her braids plastered to her forehead. She nodded slowly. "Yes, it is the fruit of my husband's betrayal. I kept it safe, so you could see the truth." The officer studied her face, then gave a short nod. "You did well. This will bury him." Kelechi exhaled in relief, wiping sweat from his brow, but Amaka felt no relief. Instead, a heaviness pressed against her ribs. The money was gone, but so was any illusion of the man she had once called husband. 2 days later, she was summoned again to the station. This time, Kunle sat in the interrogation room with chains on his wrists. His face was gaunt, his lips cracked, but his eyes still burned with restless fire. When he saw Amaka, he sneered. "So you found it." Amaka stood tall, her wrapper neat, her posture unbroken. "I found what you tried to hide, and now the world sees who you truly are." His voice cracked with bitterness. "Do you think they will honor you for betraying your husband? You are nothing without me, just a tailor, just a barren woman waiting for scraps." Amaka's jaw tightened, but her voice was calm. "Better a tailor with clean hands than a coward who sold his wife to robbers." Kunle's chains rattled as he tried to rise. His eyes were wild. "You will regret this, Amaka. Even if they lock me forever, my curse will follow you. You will taste it in every breath, every bite, every tear." The officer slammed the table. "Quiet!" But his words clung to her like smoke, heavy and poisonous. That evening, back at her shop, Amaka sat in silence. The hum of her sewing machine seemed distant. Neighbours passed, whispering still, though now some eyes carried pity instead of judgment. Children played in the street again, their laughter rising over the noise of Lagos. Kelechi entered quietly and placed a bowl of jollof rice on her table. "Eat something," he urged. She looked at him, her eyes tired but steady. "Do you think curses live beyond walls?" Kelechi frowned. "A curse only grows if you water it. Do not give Kunle that power." Her lips pressed together. She reached for the spoon, but her mind was far away. That night, as rain tapped softly on the zinc roof, Amaka dreamed. She stood in a vast orchard of trees, each tree bent heavy with fruit, shiny, bright, tempting. But when she plucked one, the skin cracked open to reveal rot crawling inside. And in the distance, a voice whispered like wind through dry leaves, "You will eat the fruit of betrayal." She woke with a start, heart racing, the dream clinging to her like sweat. The curse of Kunle's words still lingered, and Amaka knew her battle was not yet finished. Don't forget to like and subscribe. The storm is not over yet. The days that followed felt like a storm that would not end. The money was gone, sealed as evidence in the police vault. Kunle was locked in a holding cell, awaiting trial. But in the neighbourhood, tongues wagged without mercy. At the borehole, women whispered loud enough for Amaka to hear. "Nah, so shady form innocent." Who knows if she too was eating from the money? Her husband betrayed people. Maybe she enjoyed the fruit with him. The words pierced deeper than knives. Amaka carried her bucket home, her back straight, her face calm, but inside her chest, anger coiled like a snake. One evening, Kelechi returned from the market, his face troubled. "Sister," he said quietly, "I overheard something. Chief Ajayi has vowed not to rest until Kunle rots in prison. But the chief's men also said, if they cannot reach Kunle, they may punish those close to him. That means you." Amaka's hand froze over the fabric she was stitching. "Me? For crimes I never touched?" Kelechi nodded grimly. "They believe Kunle trusted you with secrets. They will not believe otherwise." Amaka exhaled shakily. "So even when the tree is cut, its shadow still covers me." That night the compound was too quiet. No generators humming, no radios playing, only the hum of mosquitoes and the croak of distant frogs. Amaka sat on her veranda, wrapper tied firm, her braids tucked in a scarf. She tried to focus on mending a torn school uniform for a client's son, but her mind wandered. Kunle's curse still rang in her ears. "You will eat the fruit of betrayal too." Her eyes drifted to the corner of the compound where the robbers had spilled the cash. Even after the rain had washed the tiles, she could still see the ghost of that night. Suddenly, a knock rattled the gate. Firm, insistent. Kelechi sprang up, a cutlass in hand. "Who goes there?" he barked. A voice answered, low, cautious. "It's me, Damilola." Amaka's heart skipped. The nurse, the other woman who had claimed Kunle deceived her, stepped inside. Her navy scrubs were replaced with a plain blouse and skirt, her braids tied back neatly. She looked tired, her eyes ringed with shadows. "I shouldn't be here," Damilola said quickly. "But I need to warn you, Kunle, he's not finished." Amaka's brow furrowed. "What do you mean?" "He is in prison." Damilola shook her head. "I was at the hospital today when they brought a wounded officer. He whispered that Kunle has been talking with men inside. He promised them money. Money he claims is still hidden. They plan to come for you, to force you to reveal it." Amaka's stomach turned cold. "But the police already took the money." Damilola's eyes glistened. "Does Kunle care? He will paint you as his partner until he drags you down with him. Those men believe his lies. They think you are still holding something." Kelechi slammed the cutlass against the floor in frustration. "Let them come. I will face them." But Amaka raised her hand, silencing him. Her voice was steady. "No. If this curse must be broken, I must face it myself." Later that night, Amaka lay awake on her mat, staring at the zinc roof. Her grandmother's voice haunted her dreams again. A woman must choose, either to be consumed by the fruit or to spit out its poison and plant a new tree. She knew then what she had to do. She could not keep waiting for trouble to find her. She would go to Kunle herself, face to face, one last time. She would rip the root of his lies from the soil before it strangled her completely. At dawn, Amaka wrapped her wrapper tightly and tied her scarf. Kelechi protested, but she silenced him with a look. "I must go," she said. "If I do not, his curse will follow me all my days." And so, as the sun climbed slowly over Lagos, she walked toward the police station, her footsteps steady, her resolve sharper than any blade. Inside the holding cells, Kunle was waiting. His eyes gleamed when he saw her, like a man who still believed he had power. "Amaka," he rasped, a twisted smile spreading across his face. "So, you came. I knew you couldn't stay away." Amaka stood tall, her eyes burning with fire. "I came," she said, "to end this once and for all." Don't forget to like and subscribe because the most shocking truth is about to be revealed. The police cell reeked of sweat, damp clothes, and hopelessness. Rusted bars separated Kunle from Amaka, but the weight of his gaze pierced through them like a knife. His bandaged shoulder was stained. His once proud posture had withered into slouched defiance. Yet his eyes glittered with that same restless cunning Amaka had always known. "You came to see me," Kunle said, his lips curling into a sneer. "I told you. You cannot escape me. Even the police, even the chief, even your neighbours, they all see you through my shadow." Amaka's chin lifted. Her voice was sharp, her braids falling across her shoulders like a crown. "I came not because I cannot escape you, but because I refuse to live under your curse. Tonight, it ends." Kunle chuckled bitterly. "Ends? You think exposing me will end it? Foolish woman, they already suspect you. Some say you hid money for me. Some say you enjoyed my wealth. Even if I rot here, they will drag your name in the mud. You will eat the fruit whether you like it or not." Amaka's eyes narrowed. "No, Kunle, I will not eat it. I will spit it out before it poisons me." The officer on duty shifted uneasily, but stayed silent, listening. Kunle leaned closer to the bars, lowering his voice. "You think you are righteous. Let me remind you, you lived in my house, ate from my sweat. I gave you a name, a roof. And now you stand before me like judge and jury? You will regret it, Amaka. My blood is in that money. My enemies will not rest. If they cannot touch me, they will touch you." His words were poison, dripping slowly, but Amaka did not flinch. She stepped closer until her hands rested on the cold iron. "You are wrong, Kunle," she said firmly. "I lived in your house, yes. But it was my hands that clothed us, my sweat that fed us, my prayers that held us together when you chased shadows. You planted betrayal, and now you are the one eating it. Do not call me your partner. I was only your shield, and I will never be your victim again." For a moment, silence reigned. Then Kunle's composure cracked. His eyes darkened with rage, his lips trembling. "You dare talk to me like this? In front of them? You are my wife. You owe me loyalty till death." Amaka's reply came like a whip. "A wife owes loyalty to a man, not a coward who uses her body as a shield against bullets. You died to me the moment you sold your soul." The officer finally spoke. "Madam, time is up." But Amaka raised her hand. "One more word." The officer hesitated, then nodded. Amaka leaned forward, her voice dropping into a cold whisper that only Kunle could hear. "You cursed me, Kunle, but I return your curse to you. May every fruit of betrayal you planted choke you until your last breath, and may the world know I was not part of your rot, but the one who survived it." Kunle's face twisted, veins straining in his neck. He gripped the bars, his knuckles white. "You think you've won, Amaka. This world is cruel. When they turn their backs on you, when hunger bites, when loneliness eats you alive, you will remember my words." Amaka stepped back, her wrapper brushing against the dusty floor. Better to be hungry and alone with clean hands than to feast on stolen fruit beside a coward. With that, she turned and walked out, each step heavy but unbroken. Outside, the air smelled of rain and freedom. Kelechi was waiting by the station gate, his eyes searching hers. "How was it?" Amaka exhaled slowly, her chest finally lighter. "It is finished. His curse is no longer mine to carry." But even as she spoke, thunder rumbled far away, and she knew the storm had not fully passed. Because curses do not die in prison cells, they linger, waiting for the next opening. That night, as Amaka prepared to close her tailoring shop, she noticed something strange. A folded letter slipped under her door. Her hands trembled as she unfolded it. The message was written in hurried scrawl. "We know you gave the police the money, but we also know Kunle promised us more. If you don't bring it, we will return for you. This time no police will save you." Amaka's breath caught. The shadows outside seemed to grow longer. The fruit of betrayal was still ripening, and she was still trapped in its orchard. Don't forget to like and subscribe, because the ending will leave you speechless. The letter trembled in Amaka's hands. Her heart pounded, each beat echoing Kunle's venomous words. "You will eat the fruit of betrayal too." She folded the paper slowly, placed it on her sewing table, and tied her wrapper tighter around her waist. Her braids brushed her shoulders as she lifted her chin. Enough was enough. "Kelechi," she called, her voice steady. "It ends tonight. No more running, no more fear. I will not be hunted like an animal in my own home." Kelechi looked at her with worry. "Sister, those men are killers. They won't stop until they bury you." Amaka's eyes hardened. "Then let them try. But this time, they will find a woman who refuses to be anyone's shield." That evening, Amaka walked straight to the police station. She carried the threatening letter in one hand, her shoulders squared, her stride firm. The officers were startled when she arrived. "I have lived in fear for too long," she told the inspector on duty. "Here is your proof. The robbers are still hunting me because of my husband's betrayal. If the law cannot protect me, then tell me now so I can prepare my own way." The inspector studied her, surprised by the fire in her voice. He nodded gravely. "You have spoken well, madam. We will not let them finish what they started. We will use this letter to set a trap." That night, plainclothes officers hid around Amaka's compound. Their rifles were silent shadows in the corners. The generator was off, the lights dimmed, the street eerily quiet. Amaka sat on her veranda, the letter placed openly on the table beside her. She was the bait, and she knew it. Midnight came. Then, a sedan rolled silently down the street, its headlights off. Doors opened. 3 figures crept toward the compound, whispering like snakes in tall grass. "Tonight we finish her," one muttered. The gate rattled. A hand reached through the bars. Another voice growled, "Open, or we burn the place down." Amaka rose slowly, her shadow stretching across the veranda. Her voice rang out, clear and steady. You came for the fruit of betrayal. Tonight, you will eat it yourselves. The robbers froze. Before they could react, whistles shrieked. Floodlights blazed on. Police, drop your weapons! The compound exploded with gunfire and shouts. The robbers panicked, firing wildly, but the officers moved with precision. 2 of the men were pinned to the ground within seconds, rifles kicked away. The third tried to scale the wall, but a bullet struck his leg and he tumbled back with a scream. When the dust settled, all 3 were cuffed, groaning on the wet tiles. The inspector stepped forward, nodding to Amaka. It is over. You are free. But Amaka shook her head. No, it is not yet over. I must face Kunle one last time. The next morning, she stood once more in front of the prison bars. Kunle looked worse than before, his eyes sunken, his hair unkempt, his pride shattered. Yet when he saw her, he managed a crooked smile. So, they came for you, he croaked. I told you. My curse would find you. Amaka's voice was calm, almost gentle. Yes, they came, but the curse did not touch me. It touched them. They lie in chains now, just as you do. Kunle's smile faltered. You see, she continued, you thought betrayal would make you rich, but it has made you a prisoner. You thought it would destroy me, but it has made me stronger. I am no longer your shield, Kunle. I am free. Kunle's eyes filled with something he had never shown her before. Fear. Amaka turned, her wrapper swaying with each step, and walked away. She did not look back. Weeks later, her tailoring shop was full again. Clients returned, whispering admiration instead of suspicion. She survived, they said. She is a woman of strength. Children laughed in the compound. Neighbours greeted her warmly. Kelechi stayed by her side, proud, and in the quiet of her heart, Amaka whispered a prayer of thanks. The fruit of betrayal had not poisoned her. She had spat it out and planted something new: courage, resilience, freedom. Kunle, meanwhile, sat alone in his cell, gnawing on the bitter fruit he had grown. His betrayal had yielded nothing but chains. Weeks later, her tailoring shop was full again. Clients returned, whispering admiration instead of suspicion. She survived, they said. She is a woman of strength. Children laughed in the compound. Neighbours greeted her warmly. Kelechi stayed by her side, proud, and in the quiet of her heart, Amaka whispered a prayer of thanks. The fruit of betrayal had not poisoned her. She had spat it out and planted something new: courage, resilience, freedom. Kunle, meanwhile, sat alone in his cell, gnawing on the bitter fruit he had grown. His betrayal had yielded nothing but chains. Betrayal may bring short-lived gain, but its fruit is bitter and deadly. Cowardice destroys not only the betrayer, but also everything he claims to love. True strength is not found in using others as shields, but in standing firm with integrity, even in the face of danger. If you were Amaka, would you have forgiven Kunle or left him to eat the fruit of his betrayal? Comment below, share your thoughts, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more powerful African folktales that reveal life's deepest lessons.